All right, Sci-Fi Express Lane, Jeff Carroll. This is something that was just asked to me over the weekend, and I don't know. I keep getting these questions, but I think questions and things are ever evolving. How about that? It's always going to evolve. Okay, answers are going to be fluid. The world is fluid. One of the things I used to love about Mayor Ras Baraka is he always used to quote the Black Panthers, and he said, "Stagnance is backwardness in a moving society." So if our society is ever changing, you've got to not only change and adapt, you got to get ahead of the changes. And that's what I like about it, being a futurist, being a science fiction writer and speculator, is I get to stay ahead of things, and I have to. It makes me think of the future, and that keeps me ahead. It's like I teach 12th grade, and I look at it as teaching the future. It's like I'm in the future because these are our future leaders. These are the people in our future. So what's going on, the norms, sure, they're going to mature and they're going to grow up, but what they deal with and who they are going to pretty much be the people who they're going to be when they get older. So that's like living in the future. I don't tell them I don't feel like they live in our world. When I go to class, I'm 25, 30 deep. I'm the only one, so I'm in their world as much as I control it. I'm observing. So this is Jeff Carroll, Sci-Fi Express Lane, writer, filmmaker, all that. Today I just want to deal with, hopefully I have enough time. But I was asked after I watched the Bionics. The Bionics is on Netflix, right? And I don't know if it's been added, how long the movie's been out. I don't know the stars of it. None of that, right? But I do know, the story it deals with augmentation, bionic enhancements, almost going back to the Bionic Woman. But it deals with it in terms of a track and field story. There's a mob and a gang element to it, but it's such a small element. Most of it is about bionic enhancements to athletics, and I don't even know if it really gets into the effect of that, because it just jumps right in and everybody's accepting it. To me, it could have dealt with a little bit more of how we are having cis athletes and cis men and transgender athletes, and they present a real problem of question for us as a society. They just jump right in, and the people with bionic limbs are outdoing the people without them. So it's like they don't have no pushback. You know what I'm saying? Only the athletes are pushing back. Society, they don't interview. They don't even deal with that question. It's more of a sibling story. But the question that I was asked, man, it took me a while to get to this, was the kids that are involved, the 3 siblings, are all black. The father's black, it's a black family. The mother was black, no doubt. The story takes place in Brazil, which is interesting. And the trainer, the police, everybody else is white. Now, are they light-skinned? I don't think so. Are they Latin? No, I don't think so. It's taking place in the future, 2035 or something, not even that far off in the future. It also, so it's futuristic Brazil, and that's a little bit, but if you know anything about Brazil, they have a different caste system, or they have a caste system. We just have a race system here in America, and casteism is sort of different than racism. You have levels of blackness levels of whiteness. I don't know where Asian falls in there. I don't know where Indian falls in there. I don't know. All I know is they had a caste system to replace their racism that America had, where it was 1/5 of a man, 1 drop of black blood. That was what they used to define black people in America, and we probably still go by that. But we don't have a mulatto class where your grandmother's black and you have that much black in you. You're 1/8 black, no. Or 1/4 black. No, we don't have that. We seem like we used to have something that blurred with that, but I think it was too hard to maintain because of people having children out of wedlock and you just couldn't follow. You have so many orphans, if that's what you want to call them, people that don't know their children. So I think that's what we did with it. So anyway, because of the muddied water of Brazil and the complexity of this story, it's clearly about black girls. It's in a city that doesn't have a racial description or division. The question is it a black story? Is this black sci-fi? Oh my God. I think we're going to blur the lines of that, because I actually think black sci-fi is a reactionary creation by the mainstream white European audience. I don't know what they would call it. You understand? I didn't say, hey, let's call ourselves black sci-fi. We would have been considered black people writing sci-fi, black people creating sci-fi, sci-fi created by black people. I don't think black artists in music call themselves black singers. They are black singers, but they don't say, hey, I'm a black singer. Whereas I call myself a black science fiction writer, and that's I'm not changing that right now, because that's a signal to people of what I write. And I say that because there's a lot of good black writers who don't write black characters or black stories. And I do not consider them writing black science fiction, because I think black science fiction is a combination of the creator being black and the story being black. To me, it's still science fiction, it's still horror, it's still fantasy, but to me, that is a separate signal, right? Because for the creators of race, right, racial divisions, they said there's something different about this one. You know, this one has diverse characters. This one has a black lead. This one has something else. And so we own that something else. And we said, you know what? We'll embrace that something else. And, you know, we argued that that something else is something tangible enough to say, you know what? We're not. And, you know, some of the things that, you know, we include in our stories as black science fiction writers is specific to our culture, you know. And, you know, I'm pretty sure that there's black people, just like the black science fiction writers, just like there are black people who kind of struggle with their blackness, struggle with kind of understanding all of the little innuendos and sayings and beliefs that we have, that are not ours only, but they are more, what would you call it? Common, popular. Like, for instance, let me give you an example. Black people are not scared of a slamming door. Now, if blood trickles down the wall like in Amityville Horror, heck yeah, that's a concern. But if a door slams, we're going to say, hey, that's not a ghost, run. We're going to say, hey, that's your grandmother. Did you see that? I wonder who that's going to be. I mean, realistically, we're not running out the house for that. But we will associate that to a grandparent. And that's traditional. That's Southern, I think. I got to check and see if it happened in Africa. But that's something that's a characteristic of black science, black horror, right? There's other things in our behaviors, right, that are not the same, right? We are being very well westernized, no doubt, no doubt. But there's still things that are common and popular in the black community more and more than the white community, and some just don't happen in the white community that happen in the stories that black creators write and produce. So that becomes a characteristic of black science fiction. And as a pioneer and a promoter of black science fiction, I actually ask that black science fiction writers and horror writers get into that more. You know, many times our characters behave the same way that white characters and mainstream characters behave in their stories. They yell, they react, and mind you, there's a variety of black behavior, but there are also common behaviors as well. There's common beliefs, and to me, that's, you know, what makes us, one of the things that makes us great and valuable is that we are a variation of human beings. Same thing that Asians have, same thing that indigenous Americans have, same thing as Indians from India have. And Arabs. And I'm not saying that only black writers should do this. That's what I'm a salad bowl fan, right? I like the salad bowl over the mixing pot ideology. I like my diversity to be authentic as much as it can, right? As much as it can. I like my tomatoes to be soft and squishy. I don't want them to pick up the characteristics of the meat and the texture of the meat when I put it together. I want my chicken chunks and my Caesar salad to be different texture than the lettuce. So when that analogy comes as it's a mixing pot, I like to say I like a salad bowl because I like the different cultures, I like the different variations, and I like the mix of those things. It doesn't mean one has to be better than the other, you know what I'm saying? No, all the flavors mix and make it good all together. So that's what when I say I like the salad bowl, that's what I'm referring to. So when it comes to science fiction, I like our mix. I like the mix of different things, of different cultures, not in necessarily the same book. Sense8, the show on Netflix, actually did that good, but I don't mind. I like the shelf to be mixed. Every book doesn't have to be mixed. That's a hard, tall order for you to ask of writers, but I like for the shelf to have a mixture. I don't want every story to be indistinguishable because I don't think every culture behaves correctly and gets everything right, okay? And sometimes they're too nice. Sometimes they're too mean. So I like that mix. But yeah, so this movie Bionic begs the reevaluation of what is black sci-fi, what is any kind of sci-fi, right? So if you question black sci-fi, you question African sci-fi. You're going to question Indian sci-fi. You're going to question Chinese sci-fi. Because other than that, race is off the table. And I don't think that's a factor. So I think the driving force behind it is the writer, I think, and the characters who in the story. What's the story about? So one of my friends said, what about, say, music, right? If somebody writes a song for somebody else, it's a white writer writes it for a black person or Asian person, does that make it a white song if somebody white wrote it? I think sometimes it's like acting. Like Will Smith didn't make Independence Day a black science fiction story. He was a black actor in it. And maybe that's the same thing. Now, with music, you don't have as many moving parts, and maybe they added some soul to it and spiced it up. So it's now a variation where the singer may get some credit for the things that they added. I don't know who did the beat. That's another element in a song. So sometimes it's different, but I think we need to define this. I'm not going to finish this off. I'm going to leave it with a good setup for the question. I gave you my answer. Writer and who the story is about. All right? In music, maybe a little different. Film, comic book, same thing is what I think. All right? Jeff Carroll, Sci-Fi Express Lane. Like, subscribe, share, and comment. I don't think I know everything. I just know what I think. And that's fine. You can agree, you can disagree, and you can offer an amendment and make me, say I'm wrong, and debate me, and get me to change. All right, peace.